I'll start by giving you a little bit of some statistics on what's going on around the world. Of course, these areas, the divorce rate is higher, as you may perhaps anticipate. In terms of the divorce rates around the world, USA is number 10 with 53%. That means almost 1 in every 2 marriages in the US right now end up in divorce. France, 55%. Cuba, 56%. Estonia, 58%. Luxembourg, 60%. That's quite high. Spain, 63%. Czech, 66%. Hungary, 67%. Portugal, 68%. Who can make a wild guess? Where do we have the highest divorce rate? Let's make a guess. Which nation? Belgium. Only 30% of marriages stand. 70% of all marriages in Brussels especially end up in divorce. What do you think is the current rate in Kenya? Nyeri especially. Nyeri women, what is the divorce rate? Now, these statistics were from Elena as at 15th of January, so they are recent. Now, a little bit facts about marriage. This is what I found. 50% of all marriages in the US, roughly, we saw precisely by this year, about 53%, end up in divorce. First marriages. Here's the story. 67% of second marriages end up in divorce. Now they go ahead and marry the third time. 73% of that marriages end up in divorce. That means you have a higher chance of winning in your marriage in your first marriage than in second, third, or other subsequent marriages. So every time you look at your spouse and feel like you're dissatisfied, please remember this. Statistics don't cheat, figures do not cheat. You know, the grass looks greener where? The other side. So I suggest today, think twice before you leave your spouse. I wrote some notes here. You have a higher chance in your first marriage than in subsequent fallacies. Why not invest in your current relationship? What do you imagine you do in ensuing fantasies? But some people tell me, Doc, it's so painful in my marriage. I've wasted a lot of time. I can't stay in it anymore. Then don't waste the pain. You've been there for 5 years, 7 years. You've gone through the drama. My findings has been this. A lot of marriages break between the 5th and the 7th year. And if you've already gone past the 7th year, you're in your 8th year. If there is no verbal or physical abuse, you have a higher chance working on that marriage than quitting and trying another one. The only disclaimer, if somebody continually verbally and physically abuses you for a long time, your life will rather become vegetative. That is for sure. If somebody tells you you're a loser, you can't make it, you can't do anything. I pray if they're here, God is going to touch them and they're going to change that working vocabulary, because eventually that becomes your eventual reality. You cannot perform in a manner that is inconsistent with the words you are consuming on a day-to-day basis. Now, some people tell me, well, in our marriage we have no sex, the love is gone with the weeds, we have no feelings for each other. Then I ask them, can you come for Winning Families at Green Hills? Can you go for counseling? I can't afford. How much is your marriage worth? You invest in many things and marriage never works. It's cost to work. You invest in school fees for your children, sometimes to the tunes of 100,000. But in any given year, very few of us deliberately invest in our marriages. Would you agree with me? And then you complain marriage never works. I repeat, it doesn't work. It is cost to work. The real question is this: how much investment have you made? You have bought a lot of plots, Chaka Place, and Kitengela and Syokimau. How much have you invested in your marriage? Because if it's worth it, then there is an investment for it. If there's no investment for it, it's not worth it. Show me where your money is, and I'll show you where your heart is. It's very easy to tell me what is important for you. I value my health, I value my family, I value my children. But as a mentor, if I truly want to know what is imperative for you, I need to check on the two things: your schedule and your finances. How you spend your time, how you spend your money. I don't need you to explain to me what you value. Where your money is, there your heart is. What gets scheduled gets done. If I study your money and your time, I get to know your heart, period. It's not what you say, it's what you schedule and where you put your investment. That's what you value. There is someone listening to me here. They have no problem tonight or any other day to go drink 10,000, but they have a problem investing 1,000 for a seminar like this. And then we conclude marriage never works. And then by the time you're going to a counselor or a mentor or a life coach, some of these things are beyond repair. You've got to deliberately invest in your marriage. And so I ask you that question again: how much is your marriage worth? How much is your happiness worth? Who do you think will ever invest in your marriage? That's the question I want to ask you right now. In the time I've dealt with people in respect to matters marriage, the biggest battle has always been love and respect. So the first thing I hear every woman say, he doesn't love me. And the first thing I hear from men, she doesn't respect me. The first complaint the world over, I have had the privilege of traveling every continent. Last month, we were in 3 nations, Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. And I'll be taking this message this year in no less than 15 countries. And whether I'm talking to Indians or Africans, the number one complaint of all men, I don't feel respected. The number one complaint of all women, I don't feel loved. So this is the big question: what is this love and what is this respect? And here are some of the responses you people have given me. When a woman says she doesn't feel loved, this is exactly what she says. She wants you to spend quality time with her. For her, the time you spend together means love. Now that you are able to bring her in this meeting, she feels loved. And most likely tonight, things are going to be very hot. Calling her and updating her on what you're doing, for her it means love. But we don't do it in Africa. Especially we don't come from Nyanza. Why should we keep texting her? We are busy buying plots. She doesn't feel loved. Take time of your busy schedule. Out of 24 hours, I don't believe you can lack just a second or two to say, I love you. According to her, love means call me, update me, tell me I love you. Every man listening to my voice, your thoughts don't bless her. She wants to hear it. Love never spoken is not love. Si anaona, watoto nimeremisha, fees nimelipa. What else does she need from you? She needs to hear it from you. Don't make her just a financial partner. She wants to be your lover. What does she mean? She wants attention. She wants to be listened. No comparisons. Don't show interest to other women. Don't walk down the streets of Nyeri and begin having a long delay of your eyes. Every woman wants to know that your full attention is on her. Every time you spend time with your children, the woman interprets it to be love for her. Men can't understand this. There's a part in our brain that is dead. It doesn't understand this, the right part. But trust me, every time you do homework with children, you play with them, you go visit them, you go for visiting day, you go for that AGM, there's a boring speaker, but you stay there just because of your child. That woman feels loved. Sometimes we need gifts and surprises. You came with your wife? No domestics today. Any gift this year? A surprise? Fantastic. Fair enough. You came with your wife? Any surprise this year? No. Now, if I ask these men, do you love your wife? What is the answer? Yes. But according to the women, we need some surprises. That's her definition of love. Outings. Apart from today's outing, how many can confess there has not been an outing this year? How many can confess there has not been an outing this year? Specifically, not family outing with your children at Green Hill. You, two of you. How many can confess there has not been an outing? According to her, she doesn't feel loved. What am I doing? I'm breaking it to men what the woman means. She doesn't feel loved. Consort. Don't bring surprises. A lot of men who buy vehicles, they'll buy plots, they do things in the interest of the family without consulting. The woman feels unloved. You rush to see your mother and you don't think you're obliged to explain. Is that familiar? She doesn't feel loved. You make critical decisions in the office, including changing jobs, without consulting. She doesn't feel loved. She doesn't feel part of that family. Home chores. This is tricky. This is an area I do not do well. How many are like me? I don't do well in this area. How many men are like me? You can confess. In terms of home chores, doing dishes, cooking, this is an area we need to work on. So there are some areas I'm not doing well and I'll be confessing. That's one of the areas I need the Holy Spirit. Daily compliments. She does it for you. She expects you to comment. Has he commented how you're smart today? Oh my God. Now here's the danger. Where are you working? Here in Nyeri. What's your name? Someone like Dorcas, when you don't compliment her, someone will do it in the workplace. So if you don't see it, another man will see it. Who loses? You lose. She'll start warming up to that guy. Even if they don't go for it, it's natural. If you keep telling me I'm smart, I'll start warming up to you. Where ka gumu? You don't know who softens her heart. Isn't it easier to say I love you, you're looking good, your hair is good, rather than to keep checking where and with who she is? Protection from third parties. Your woman must not compete with your mother. Your woman must not compete with your children. Your woman must not compete with your career. Even if you're here as a man of God like the bishops who've come here, God doesn't compromise your family for the sake of his family. Otherwise, the Bible gives us space for celibacy, the life Christ lived. Each of those items is a third party. Let her know that it's important for you to do that job, but you're able to balance. And the only way for her not to feel you're competing is consulting. As long as you're consulting, then she doesn't feel like a side issue. She knows she's the central issue. Now, men have a lot of complaint that they don't feel respected. And I'll try to ask a couple of questions to myself. What is this? What does he mean with respect? They don't want to be compared. And every time you keep talking about, for example, after this meeting, let me give you a warning as a woman. Don't discuss too much about Dr. Kinyanjui. Discuss the topic. Discuss what I was saying, not me. You begin to compare your husband with other men unawares. It doesn't matter the career that other guy is doing. Don't shout at your husband at all. Whenever you feel like calling him names of all domestic animals, take a walk, go drink some cold water, breathe some fresh air. By the time you come back, you'll have lowered your voice. It is not so much of what you say, but even how you say it. It matters how you say it. Don't correct him in public. Nyeri women, don't correct your husband in public. Can I go back to Nairobi telling them things have changed in Nyeri? Because the news the country knows is that Nyeri women can shout. Can I go back believing this is not the case? The sample I had here are people who can speak. Did you know the louder you speak, the farther apart your hearts are? The more you whisper, the more intimate you are. Consult, inform him. Don't buy things secretary. Most women from central Kenya have a secret bank account. I will not ask you to lift up your hand. Most women from central Kenya have a secret caplot. Nobody knows, but you know it. And most likely your mom knows it. It's a secret between the girls. And the moment that guy discovers, he doesn't feel respected. Don't discuss your marriage issues. One of the strange things I find with women, they discuss their husband with women who don't love them in the first place. If a woman loves you, she will not entertain you discussing negative things about your husband. Please understand, misery loves company. When somebody is going down the drain, they don't want to go alone. They could be pouring out of their own bitterness. Why sink at their level? Don't lower your standards to accommodate other rumormongers. Raise your standards. Challenge them to begin speaking great about their husbands. Because in life, you don't get what you want. You get what you expect. A lot of people expect to be disappointed, and they end up not disappointed. They expect to fail, they end up not disappointed. Let me say this. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you expect. If you expect to be broke, you will not be disappointed. If you expect to divorce, you will not be disappointed. If you expect to be fired from your job, you will not be disappointed. If you expect your business to fail, you will not be disappointed. If the results in your life are not consistent with what you desire in your heart, I invite you to inspect your heart, because then there's a conflict between what you expect and what you're getting. You get in life what you expect, not what you want, unless what you want and what you expect are incongruent. For men, respect means sex. This is a hard thing to explain. If you're not willing to make love in that home, what's that? If he's always reaching out to you from January to December, there's no time you show like you're feeling it. He starts questioning you whether he's doing it properly, and he might go to test elsewhere to see whether he has an issue. You know, matters become sensitive when they are real. The moment you control your husband sexually, you're in witchcraft. The simple definition of witchcraft is manipulation. Don't manipulate your husband sexually. Leave the fight in the sitting room. Get back to bed even when you don't feel it. You can even use it for making up. Your body does not belong to you. It belongs to you both. And a man can tolerate lack of sex from women out there, but not at home. He feels entitled. And you need to understand that game. There's a word here. My wife likes her hard held. That's about my mercy. That's why I didn't want to comment about it elsewhere. I was teaching on marriage somewhere, and there's a woman who told me she doesn't like being held by the husband. What you need to find out is your wife's definition of love and your husband's definition of respect. Is this a cycle? Is this a cycle going back to where we started? If she doesn't feel love, she doesn't respect him. If he doesn't feel respected, he doesn't love her. From a biblical perspective, no. Love precedes respect. Love is greater than respect, and I'll be showing you that. A woman submits naturally to love. She should not sit down to plan how to submit or to respect you. It is the man who started the relationship. It is the man who gave the leadership to that marriage. From a biblical perspective, when you love her as Christ loved the church, she naturally submits to you. She doesn't need lectures on submission. Love is greater than respect. Love precedes respect. We didn't choose Christ. He chose us. He says, you didn't choose me, but I chose you. There's an area I want us to think through together. When a woman speaks, the man naturally does not hear the same thing. So I want to ask this. When a woman says, can we talk? What does the man hear? The man hears, you are in trouble. When the woman says, Bob is doing really well, do you know what he hears? You are not man enough. When you go home and say how Kimani is doing well, that's not what he hears. He hears you don't measure up. When you say, I'm tired, I am sleepy, do you know what he hears? I don't want sex today. In fact, in the evening when you say you have a headache, he already knows what you're saying. Do you want dinner? This is a very serious question that is very common in Nyeri. Unataka kukula leo? Never ever ask your husband like that. Even if he told you he's coming from a dinner in a conference, let him say no. Don't ask your husband whether he needs to eat. What's wrong with you? This is what he hears. I hope you've eaten where you are. I hope you don't disturb me. Don't ask about dinner. Find a way of serving him, or let him know you're about to serve food. Let him be saying what? No, I'm okay. I have what it takes to do it. You've told him to fix water, or electricity, or a bulb, or sewer, or a broken stool. And then he doesn't do it the next 3 weeks. The guy is just thinking about work. And finally, through the word, I have what it takes to do it. This is what he hears. My assistance is not needed. I'm not even needed here. That's what he hears. When will you be home? That's a very serious question when you're asking the man. This is what he hears. I want to control your every movement. I want to monitor everything you're doing. You have no space. Now, The same thing with men. What he says is not necessarily what the wife hears. Now, when he says, here is the solution, the wife hears, I don't care about your views. Sasa, wacha nikwambie vile tutafanya. What she hears, your views are not important. When you say, don't be so emotional, she hears, your feelings aren't important. I don't care what you're going through. When you say, okay, fine, she hears, I'm so annoyed at you right now. Things are not okay. When you say nothing is wrong, she hears, you have offended me. And I'm saying this because the primary reason we quarrel is communication. Now, when he says, Samantha is really nice, I am interested with Samantha. I'm not yet done with Samantha. You look beautiful today. If you have not been telling her she looks beautiful, she hears, I've never seen you this beautiful before. You never dress right. You never look good. Today is the only day you're beautiful. If you have not been saying it, she might wonder, who taught you to tell people they are beautiful? The other question I wanted us to deal with is everything the woman says exactly what she means. When a woman says, I'm just checking on you, what she really means, I want to know where you are. Usually with who? Doing what? She's not just checking on you. And women even listen, when they pick your phone, they're listening on the background noise to know the environment. They can be as subtle as the serpent, you know. They're listening to the waves to know whether there's a fountain there. I have no clothes to wear. There is no new one, exactly. She has no new outfit. That's exactly what she means. When a man says, I have no clothes to wear, what does the man mean? They are dirty. They are not washed. They are not ironed. But when the woman says, I have no clothes to wear, he's telling you, please, you have not bought any new outfit. What are you doing tonight? When the woman says that, she means, we are hanging out later tonight. Do you have any other business? I'm your agenda. I hope you have no other plan. I am your plan. When she gives you only one word, then it's a long sentence. When she just says fine, those are paragraphs. Me, I never do that. That tells you she keeps doing that. When a woman uses the word never, be very suspicious. She's fearing you've been intimidating her. So it is your safest house to retreat. I never do it. That guy keeps calling me. Good. I don't know what's wrong with this guy. He keeps calling me. What's wrong with him? Other dudes want me too. That guy keeps calling me. She's not telling you how the guy is nagging or bothering. She's telling you she's still in the market. Bado ako kwa soko. I wish my stomach was flatter. I need to know a guy who can decode this one. And some men are so foolish to say, oh yeah, it's quite fat. That's the most foolish thing to say. You need the spirit of wisdom. Never confirm her fatness. When she's saying that, she wants the exact opposite. No, you're okay. You're looking good, honey. Why are you not complimenting me? When she says, oh, you're going to sleep. I thought you'd stay up later. We are not having sex tonight. That's news. Unaniambia nini wewe? By the way, when a woman says this, please don't expect her to initiate in another way. That's her language of initiating. What time are you coming home tonight? Are you with Jerry? Who are you hanging out with? Are you playing around with girls tonight? So rather than waiting for this question, what should we do as men? Say it earlier. Don't wait for that phone call. What time are you coming tonight? Go ahead of her and tell her the time you'll be coming. Update her. I expected to be home by 7 o'clock, but I'm still in Keno. There's a new joint where we take coffee, and I felt like sleeping on the wheel. I decided coffee can keep me alert. So honey, please, I might take more than an hour than earlier planned. You will not receive this question. Because the question is, are you dropping another girl who is on her way to Muranga and then drive the Sagana Road? Now, does he always mean what he says? I think so. What do you think? Men always mean what they say and say what they mean. Don't you think so? I think so. Ladies, what's your view? Do they always mean what they say? I think so. Men are like the Lord. What they say is what they mean. What they mean is what they say. They are yes and amen. So Sometimes when he says, I will call you, he's telling you, I am busy. Jipe shuguri. Does that make sense, man? When he says, I'll call you, he will not call you. He's just telling you, please avoid bothering me. Don't you know I'm serious business with the governor? Now ni kupika tu napika. Normally it's annoying because there's a lot of work at home or elsewhere. And most of you are working also in the marketplace and you have to go and fix dinner or other things at home. But that's exactly what he means. When he says, I didn't mean it. I didn't expect you to be upset. You know what he's telling you? Are you so petty? That's what he's telling you. When he says, can we talk about it later? Can we drop it permanently? There's no later. Forget about it. Can we drop it permanently? When he says, you look incredible in that dress, please, can we go now? It's time for church. He's not liking the dress. You are overdressing. Get out of the dressing table, let's go. If your husband tells you very fast you're looking good, be suspicious. She's just afraid. She's just a colleague. She's just a neighbor. In fact, we were just sharing a seat together in the bus. She's still in my to-do list. I have a bucket list, climbing Mount Kenya. Samantha, she's part of the bucket list. I used a different color font there because this is for singles. The singles in our midst. When someone says, I don't want to ruin our friendship, he's telling you, I never thought of dating you in the first place. I'm fighting for a way to leave you without hurting you. I didn't know I had made such a mistake. When the man says, who? I didn't even notice her. You're just taking a walk. You're strolling here in Nyeri, Nairobi, wherever you go. I didn't even notice her. You see, there was no delay between my eyes and that other woman. We call it ogling, O-G-L-E, from the word ogle. I didn't want you to catch me ogling. It was so bad. I didn't even see her, by the way. It's so unfortunate that you saw me. The first rule of all men, they deny. They saw the trees. They saw the vehicles. No, I didn't even see the lady. She was in which color again? This again for singles, in blue. You are the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. I think by now you should know that this is not a true statement. It's not a genuine statement. But somehow, women don't mind hearing this lie. And men know it. So long as your eyes cross properly, and he says it eyeball to eyeball, and penetrates into your spirit, you begin believing the lie. And the rest is history. He's telling you what? Can we have sex? On your first date. The single ladies in our midst never beg for love. Why beg for what you're already entitled? I'll tell you a very simple thing. Every single woman imagines there's another girl more beautiful than she is. That's just a fact. I want you to know this. Men are not necessarily attracted by beautiful women. They are attracted by confident women. When you're confident, you are attractive. Your own self-rejection turns people away. Your own self-acceptance attracts people towards you. So here's my message for you. Never play anybody's afterthought. You know, there are some guys who look for a night date on Friday, and when they don't get any date, now they remember you. You're normally an afterthought. Add value to yourself by being rare. There is value in scarcity. That's why you pay more for diamonds and gold than for building rocks. Be sure you are part of the schedule. You are not a side hustle. Go for gym or for stretches like Zumba and aerobics together with other people, because then you activate endorphins, the feel-good hormones. And when you activate them, you are able to attract love to you because you have positive energy. If you stay for too long and you're not attracting people near you, love yourself. Love your own company. Have you become addicted to a life without you? Don't you realize you can run away from a bad relationship? You can run away from a bad boss or a bad climate, but you'll never run away from yourself. You are stuck with you day in, day out. Begin treating yourself. Buy that home if you can. Develop yourself professionally. Buy that car if you can. Don't worry. Some women think, if I continue to develop, I'm going to be a high flyer. Engage a relationship on a higher value. You can lose your hands. You can lose your legs. You cannot foresee 10 years from now. or 15 years from now. Sell that which can never lose value. Your true value comes from God. There is nothing you wear that defines you. There is nothing you drive that gives you significance. Your value comes from God. One more word for the single men. Every time you date a woman, even if they are born again, Holy Ghost filled, I want you to know this. Every time you invite a woman for a coffee date or dinner date, number one, they are suspicious you want to sleep with them. Trust me. Refuse to play that league. Refuse to play that game. They're already suspicious. So respect yourself and play a higher ball. Because that's what they expect. Every hyena is sleeping with girls. Play a different game altogether. You don't need to be taught how to sleep with a woman. Every male knows how to sleep with his female counterpart. It's sealed in nature. No need for lessons. Ask the cats and the dogs and the horses. No need for tutorials. So raise your standard and operate at a higher game and let her know you're not going for her body. You're going for full package. You're looking for convergence of your hopes and aspirations and dreams. You're looking for convergence of your career goals. You're not just going for the body, you're going for everything. When a man says, look, I am sorry. He says, I'm sick of arguing. Can we move on to the hot makeup sex now? Can we get down to business? Tuende kwa vitendo. Men are action guys. Women like connecting and relating through conversations. You need to loosen up through play. A lot of Africans don't know how to play, especially women. At least you find men playing pool. I'm not talking of serious sports like football. I'm talking of just playing for loosening up. Plato said this. You can learn someone through 1 hour of play than through an entire year of conversation. Play is the very object of the human life. You don't stop playing because you got old. You get old because you stop playing. How do you know Jim? If a man ever asks you that question, how do you know Jim? This is a very dangerous question. What does he mean? Have you had sex with Jim? Have you been intimate with Jim? Maybe you should think about exercising. You got it. If a man comes home and gives you a ticket for a gym club and tells you in Green Hills, Nyeri, there's a nice gym, he's communicating a message. Not necessarily you're too fat, but the fat is in the wrong place. There's some fat they don't mind. So I think I'll add in my notes, you're getting fat the wrong place. Now, that was a preamble. We want to discuss the never-ending love. And I'll discuss with you 3 items tonight. And the very first time I want to discuss with you is reasons for divorce in young marriages. And the second thing I want to discuss with us is reasons for divorce in seasoned marriages. And by seasoned marriages, I mean those who stayed about 10 years plus. And then finally, I'll discuss an item called lasting love. I like to look at 5 reasons why sometimes young marriages below the age of 5 never make it. Just some 5 reasons. And then I want you to think critically as a couple. Think through this. Reason number 1, feeling that you deserve someone else. This is a temptation with young couple. By the time you hit 10 years plus, 15 years plus, you hardly feel such things. But this is common when you're newly married. In my notes I wrote, dissatisfaction over time will trick you into making mistakes you may end up regretting. Your spouse may have a lot of great qualities too, only if you can get head out of the clouds and take a good look at them. Sometimes why we think we deserve someone else is out of selfishness. And the way to deal with it, add value to your woman. Stop gazing and admiring other women. For the women in our midst, don't admire what other men are doing. Be supportive to this man. Be the support that he needs, and eventually you get the husband you're looking for. The second reason why sometimes we end up in divorce as young couples is feeling constrained. If one party feels like the marriage is holding them back from achieving their true potential, be it a career option or racking up notches on the bedpost, they risk divorce. If you feel like you're too good to be tied down, big chances are you look for every opportunity to break out of the cage when no one is looking. And I can tell you, a lot of women, the moment you climb up the corporate ranks, you begin thinking your husband is holding you back. Some men, however, develop all alone. They don't develop together with their wives. You go back to school, get a master's degree, perhaps a PhD, and you started together as P1 teachers. But you decided to develop yourself in your career all alone. Finally, you start being attracted to people at your new level. Shame on you. Grow together. Develop together. Don't forget the foundations where you two began. The third reason why young marriages break is lack of communication in marriage. Now, communication isn't just about talking to each other. Communication is about understanding each other clearly and learning more about each other. Most couples talk, but few communicate. A relationship without good communication is a time bomb waiting to explode. Now, communication, the worst thing about it is the delusion that it has taken place. People talk, few communicate. How do you know you have communicated, and what's the difference between talking and communication? You only know you have communicated when you ask for feedback to clarify whether the other party understood exactly what you said. The same word has different meanings. That's the primary reason I showed you what you say and what is being heard. What you say and how it's being heard, how it's being interpreted, are two different stories. So always clarify from your partner whether they understood you. Be sure you are reading from the same script by asking for feedback, asking for questions. And by this I mean including the nonverbal cues, facial expressions, body gestures, body language. Do not invalidate anyone's feelings. If, for example, this lady was married to him, she could have started arguing, you don't need a tie, it's an afternoon, it's Sunday, isn't it? But this is what he thinks is smartness for him. And this is what he thinks is smartness for him. Don't fight over this. Unmanaged expectations. In my notes, unmanaged expectations are the very seabed of defeat. For many marriages, it is the next step in the great way of life. We get into marriage with expectations from each other and from the relationship. And at times, the expectations are not mutual. At the time we get married, each party assumes expectations will automatically be met. And I say assumptions are the termites of relationships. If you sell a lie because you flashed out money in that relationship, the one place that will flash out every lie is marriage. You can act in public an image that is fake. You can fake it to the society. You cannot fake it in marriage for a year. Even before 3 months, marriage literally brings out who you are. Marriage doesn't change people. I've had a lot of people saying this guy got married and he changed. No, marriage doesn't change people. Marriage reveals people. It brings out who you truly are. So you got into this relationship because you knew this woman or this man is wealthy. You bought a lie. And that expectation is cut short. That marriage is in a risk. If you are already in a trap, you're already in this marriage and you're listening to me, what you need right now is to begin managing your expectations in that marriage. Discuss openly. This is what I'd expected of you. Let's work it out from now henceforth. It's never too late to be what you might have been. It's never too late to get your ideal marriage. The fifth reason why a lot of young marriages break is a lot of mistrust and insecurity. The older you get, the more you give each other space. Do you really trust your spouse? Do you find that their behavior is suspicious, especially when they're talking to a friend over the phone? And I ask this, for those of you who are 5 years and less, do you keep checking a message or a WhatsApp until you can stop showering to rush to check what text she has just received? Can the milk spill over because your husband's phone that was on the sitting room, a message has come and you know it's more important to check that message than the milk? Then there's a lot of mistrust and insecurity. I have good news for you. Don't worry, by the time you're 15 years, you'll not be checking his phone. Trust is an important pillar in marriage. I'll touch about it slightly after this. If you can't trust your spouse, you definitely can't survive the marriage. One major reason a lot of marriages are in a problem, and we are going to see how we are going to bring a solution, is because the overwhelming majority of you are told right from Sunday school Sex is a preserve for marriage, but you did not honor it. And I want to be very open with that. So, because you knew you're going to get married to this woman, and you're going to get married to this man, you decided to test the fruit, to test drive before tying the knot. Of course, you came to Bishop in pretense, you wore a holy face, and he did his thing. He pronounced blessings over your life. Without realizing, you are not cheating him, you are cheating yourself. The moment you crossed over, you both got into a relationship suspicious of each other. And I'm saying this primarily because of two things. One, for the singles who are in our midst. If you're here and you're single and you're listening to me, the number one reason why you need to avoid premarital sex, it is not for the sake of the bishop, it is not for the sake of God. It is for your own sake. The things that God tells us are for our own good. The moment the two of you honor that promise and cross over without getting to bed, you'll always be convinced that this is a man I can trust, this is a woman I can trust. You start your marriage on the right foundation. One of my favorite preachers, a man of God I love and respect, Bishop Noel Jones from Los Angeles, divorced after 22 years of marriage. No marriage is beyond divorce. And the reason is simple. There's nothing the devil targets, there's nothing the enemy fights than marriage. Because God started the marriage unit even before the church. So for those of you who've stayed longer in marriage, here are the issues I want us to discuss. Number one in the list is infidelity. And the reason I want us to start with that, all marriages, not some, all marriages are tested on this at some point. The idea of infidelity almost always crops up in a marriage at some point or the other. You could find someone else extremely interesting, or you may find yourself constantly trying to cheat, either for the excitement or in the hope of satisfying your urges. What matters here is figuring out whether the juice is worth the squeeze. You could have gotten married without ever testing the juice, and you still can fall in the trap of affairs. The simple deal is this. There is only one way to avoid getting into this trap. Be an open epistle. Be an open book. Period. What do I mean by that? Let your wife, let your husband know where you are with who. You are one. He, she has a right into your privacy at any given moment. I'll repeat that. Disclose where you are, what you're doing. If you disclose your time and you disclose your money, if you disclose your time and disclose your money, you'll never have these issues we are discussing. Your money and how you spend reveals where your heart is. Your time reveals where your heart is. Only these two things reveal who you really are. Let your wife know, if you're a man, that you're meeting so and so. Disclose the agenda. Marriage was supposed to protect you from infidelity. Unfortunately, marriage has also become a source of infidelity. Sleeping with your secretary, sleeping with the guy who delivers grocery at home, sleeping with your gardener, visiting the red districts is too cheap a standard, is too low a standard. Sleeping with your colleague at work, sleeping with your neighbor, sleeping with a family friend is foolish and intolerable. Granted, we can't change our past. There's nothing we can do about it. But we can change our present and our future. Pacify your animalistic instincts by focusing on our human values. Tame your wild passions by focusing on a higher standard. You are created for a higher ideal. Be a promise keeper. Otherwise, the Bible wouldn't say free sexual immorality. Any command is based on a choice. You have no choice over feelings. That's why I said we cannot condemn feelings, whether you're feeling hot or cold. But where there's a command, then there's a choice. If there's a command, there's a choice, a human choice. Number two, emotional affairs. Of course, emotional affairs, I mean you literally haven't gone to bed together, but you're flirting on phone, especially these days on social media. Emotional affairs are the easiest to fall into. And at most times, you may not even realize it. Do you feel really comfortable with an opposite sex colleague at your workplace? And do you feel like this person really understands you and gives you the perfect advice for all your doubts? Or do you really feel happy and refreshed every time you have a long conversation with this friend of the opposite sex? The simple rule is this. If there is any text that you don't want your wife to see, you do not want your husband to see, then it's already an emotional affair, period. It doesn't matter how innocent it sounds to you. That's an affair. Because there must never be secrets between the two of you. Number 3, differences in sexual interests. As relationships grow, the sexual excitement and the arousal too start to change. You see the same naked person every night. You know, initially, when she coughed, you turned your head. You watched her wear a tight dress, and she moved you. But now you have seen the naked body far too many days in a row. And you're wondering what next. And that's the reason why the single girls in our midst, you must continually hide that stuff. Because once you disclose everything, he has nothing else to hunt for. Men are created to hunt. When they have nothing to hunt, you'll be left all alone. Sex plays a pretty important part in a successful marriage. Work on it and get better at it. Nothing happens, everything is caused to happen. Things don't just happen. You can spice up your relationship once more by working on each other. Look for opportunities to go out together. Make it as a rule. Every week we are going to go out for dinner together. Every single quarter we may go for bush drives. For example, in Sense 11 Life Club, we take people for cruises. So we are taking people from Singapore to Thailand last month. This August we'll be taking them from Southampton in England all the way to Italy and back. Next year we'll be doing another one from Naples in Italy all the way to Barcelona in Spain. If you'd like to participate, please, we normally pay one year in advance. And why do we do these things? The average person from central Kenya, every time you get money, kaplot. So after you have 200 acres, 2,000 acres, so what next? You survive through this life looking for kaplot. Look for ways and means to spice up your relationship. And one way is to relate with like-minded people, people who are progressive, people who are in love. The 4th reason why marriages can break when they're seasoned, your spouse doesn't excite you anymore. In my notes I wrote, this can happen to spouses who are not fascinated or awed by their partners. It isn't just about sexual interests. You may like your spouse as a friend, but there's no passion when you're with each other. Both of you just live together. You lead 2 separate lives, although you're in the same house, and have become good friends. You know, you're just reporting issues. You know, a lot of couples, their communication is about issues. They report how their day was, not on one another. They don't compliment each other. They are just reporting how their day was. You become 2 wheels of a cart, a roller coaster. You're just business partners, but you're no longer love partners and life partners. Why do these relationships collapse? Number 5, money. Money always has a way of making life better or making life worse. There are only 2 extremes and no middle ground with money. Are you dissatisfied with your spouse's earnings or monetary investment? This may start off as a nagging thought to begin with, but unless you discuss this with your spouse, you could be heading down the road of divorce over time. It is almost impossible for 2 people to be earning the same money. God's view of marriage, there is no your money and my money. It is our money. There is no your mother and my mother-in-law. It is our mother. The 2 become one. Anything out of that is not marriage from God's perspective. You are 2 people living in one homestead. The Bible says we are joint heirs. What does that mean? Everything Jesus has is mine. Everything I have is his. There is no line. That's why when you are asked to tithe or give in church, the word used is the word pay. Pay tithe. Why? You don't have it in the first place. It's not yours. It belongs to Christ. But I also have good news for you. He doesn't have anything. It belongs to you. When he went on that cross, he exchanged our poverty for the riches of Abraham. So everything he has is mine, and everything I have is his. That's why Abraham sacrificed his only son. Why? He didn't have him in the first place. Abraham reasoned, I didn't have the boy in the first place. The boy belongs to God. If God tells me to give him anything, I will, because it's not mine. That's the church. That between Christ and the church, there is no 50-50. That's the worldly mathematics and economics. God's economics is 100%. So long as you're emotionally attached to money, your marriage is still at risk. Money has become a devil. The Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy 6:10. Of all things that Jesus would have compared that compete with God, he only picked one: money. You can't serve two masters. You can't serve Mammoth, the god of money, and serve God. And the only way to show God that you don't worship money is giving. That's the only way to show you are delivered from the god of Mammoth. And not just giving in church, even in your family. When you don't hold money emotionally. Where a car can have an accident and you sleep like a baby. Now, number 6, relationships can part because of having abusive or controlling relationships. If you have ever felt like your partner is trying to control you or to abuse you in some manner, it is best to have a conversation about it. At times, your spouse may not even realize that they are trying to manipulate you or to control you. And nobody wants to feel controlled, whether it's financially, whether it's career-wise, whether it's sexually. Manipulation, I called it earlier on, witchcraft, and it was not a joke. So if you feel somebody does not want you to climb up the career ladder because they're insecure, discuss with them. Sometimes it's possible. You want to develop professionally, but your partner is not ready. Encourage them, motivate them, inspire them. But if they are not still ready, then please request them to allow you for the good of the family and you pursuing your goals in life. Number 7, priorities change. They don't stay put. Things change. Changing seasons. Shifting tides. Sometimes you can find somebody who used to be very good in evangelism. 10 years later, their heart is no longer there. You can get married to someone, and after a year or two, the same things they valued, they become very relaxed. See, a marriage is a lifetime of togetherness. And as individuals, our priorities in life too change with time. If you want to have a successful marriage and avoid any reason for divorce, learn to understand each other's priorities. Don't expect your partner to stay the same way forever. Talk to each other and help each other become better individuals, and you learn to fall more and more in love with each other. Number 8 and the last one, addictions. Now, this may not necessarily be a major issue here. I know here we love the Lord, but sometimes addictions are not necessarily about cigarettes. It's not just about alcohol. Even sex can become addictive. There are people who have zero control. Addictions can come between two partners in a big way. Do you have any addictions that bother your spouse? Addictions may not affect relationships directly, but your dependence on the addictions and the way it affects your life may affect your marriage. But I may want to ask you, looking at these 8 items, together with your partner, which area do you think you need to work on? For some of you, you only need to work on one item. For some of you, you need to work to 2 or 3, or even more. But it's possible there's someone listening to me here, and they need to work on the entire list. Now, every love will be tested, and love is tested by the great D. Every marriage is tested by the great D. What is the great D? This will test your marriage. Distance. Demands. Let's take our children to an expensive school. Every woman believes good education for children is paying more than the husband can afford. So these demands keep coming. These demands will test you. Delays. What was supposed to be done was not done within your own timing. You'll be tested by differences because not two people are alike. You realize your preferences are not her preferences. You are different personalities. And one of the greatest tragedies in relationships, we are busy trying to change the other people. You can't change anyone. Pray for them, work on me. Change me, pray for your partner. Work on yourself, pray for your partner. We are doing the opposite. We are busy changing our partners and trying to pray for them. I suggest today, those differences will stay. It is these differences that attracted you together. You are only together because you're very different. You hardly get married to someone who is like you. So those differences are there to stay. You'll be tested by another D, defects. Before you got married, you didn't know she has a big scar or flaws. You didn't know this guy has some addictions. You had no clue how his mother was because you're not getting married to the mother, isn't it? So the defects begin. Doubt. Men are promise givers, not necessarily promise keepers. He promised a lot, After some time, you begin to doubt his promises. You realize after all, they were not yes and amen. Despair begins to crop in your marriage. And it comes because of doubt and defects and differences and delays and demands and distance. And by the way, this thing called distance, you decide to work in South Sudan and your wife is in Nyeri, or your wife is working in Malidi. Eventually, physical distance creates emotional distance. Sometimes in marriage, you have to make tough choices. So why do you want to separate with your spouse? Why can't you sit down together and trust God to give you an idea that will keep your marriage intact? You just need to have your priorities right. Be together. Don't allow distance to separate you, because physical distance with time creates emotional distance. There's another D called defeats. Not everything you're going to start is going to succeed. And what you have learned with mercy over the time, don't focus on perfection. Focus on progress. Don't focus on what could have happened. Focus on what you can do now. Disappointments can separate you. Depression can separate you. Disease. There are couples who separate because somebody fell sick or became disabled. Sometimes things may come through your life, sicknesses you never thought possible. Will you still stand? And finally, the last D, death. And there's nothing much you can do about the last D. Lasting love makes the right choices. It makes the right choices. Love produces feelings, but love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. You choose to love. That's why it's a command. I say this, love is not a feeling. You don't love when you feel like. You love by choice. The only reason I give my love to Mercy and not to any other girl, when I look at a glance in this soul, I'm seeing exceptionally beautiful women. My goodness, women who can make my heart go paragasha. The only reason I'll not make any move is not because I don't feel it. It's because I choose not to. Because love is a choice. It's not a feeling, but it produces feelings. But it's not a feeling. Love is a choice. That's why God commands every man to love your wife as Christ loved you. God cannot give a command based on a feeling. It is because you can make a choice to love or not to love. Number 3, love accepts assets and liabilities. Some people just want the assets, not the liabilities. Too often we focus on what we don't have rather than on what we do have. Everyone has uniquely designed flows. God in his unique wisdom ensured each one of you listening to me has custom-made flows. None of you is perfect. Regrettably, a lot of spouses focus on the defects of their partners. In the long history of mankind, no one has ever erected a statue in honor of a critic. We elect statues in honor of those who encourage others. Now, number 4, needs investment. Lasting love needs investment. Now, any fool can fall in love. It's not about falling in love. It's a question of staying in love. Only the wise can stay in love. If you plan to give her flowers, you know, I have seen a trend in Kenya. When somebody dies, you couldn't buy her flowers when she was alive, but you bought her corpse. If you've ever planned to give her flowers, give her when she's still alive. Why do you say flowers are for the white, yet you bring them during burial? Is the veil only lifted during the funeral? Here's the deal. Do what you have to do when she can appreciate it, when he can appreciate it. Love trusts. When you don't trust people, you limit them. You see, when somebody knows you don't trust them, they go an extra mile to prove to you that they are not trustworthy. Let your wife feel celebrated and honored, and she'll look more beautiful to your eyes. You finally get what you expect. If you expect a bad thing, you'll always get that bad thing. Love extends grace. We are both imperfect. We need to extend grace when our partner's flaws irritate us. Lasting love disregards other faults. Grace and forgiveness are the foundation of lasting love. Marriage is a union of two forgivers. It's not always necessary to defend. Learn to plead for grace. I'll request the men to read These words. Now, I want to hear the Juliets. Juliet, read this one. You know, Juliet was right. He's swearing by the moon that he'll always love her in basic language. And Juliet is challenging. I don't want you to swear by the moon. Why? The moon keeps changing. We have a crescent, we have a quarter moon, a half moon. If your love will be changing like that, I don't need it. I need something more stable like the sun. You get the message? I think she was right. Do you think so? The lady was right. Now, I'm going to give you 14 definitions of love. Let's try together. Number 1, love is patient. Number 2, love is okay. Now love is patient, meaning if things are not moving as fast as you expected to live in your own house, love is patient. Love is kind. This, I'm talking to men. Be kind to that girl. Just be kind. Don't use harsh words, because love is kind. Number 3, let's read together. It does not envy. That means if you see him talking with another woman, don't make judgments too fast. Love is not jealous. Love is secure. It's not envy. And because it is kind, you will first find out why he's talking with her before you make judgment. Love is number 4. Love does not boast. Doesn't keep reminding you how far I have gotten you from by my power and by my money. No, that's not love. Love is not boast, it's not proud. Love, number 5, does not dishonor others. In other words, it honors. Honor is a big word. It's beyond respect. It is adoring. And the Bible does allow us to honor one another. Number 6, even in small things in the house. For the women in our midst, don't serve yourself food before you serve your husband. It is not self-seeking. Husbands, attend to her needs first before you attend to yours. You're always struggling and straining to meet the needs of the other party first. That's what love is. Number 7. Why? There will be circumstances for you to be angry. But in the Bible, anger has a time limit. Do not let the sun go down when you're still angry. But if you are easily angered, a snowball in hell has a higher chance to survive than your marriage. Because a marriage is the union of two forgivers. Nothing destroys marriage than anger. Anger comes because of selfishness and failure to communicate. You always think you're right and the other party is wrong. Love is not easily angered. In fact, love says, you are better than I. Have this same mind that was in Christ Jesus, that although he was God, he did not count it robbery to be equal with God. But he regarded himself not to be counted equal with the Father, although the Bible tells us they are one. Then Paul writes, consider others better than yourself. And he gives the comparison of Christ. It keeps no record of wrongs. I don't know whether when I come to your desktop, your laptop, I'm going to meet a folder of the date and the hour of what he did to you. Women are better in these records than men. It's okay to write when you're angry, to vent out. Write everything you feel like telling him. Once the steams go down, delete that document. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Number 9, love does not delight in evil but rejoices with the truth. Sinilijua tu utaanguka. No, it delights with truth. Together, let's read number 10. Always. How many times does it protect? Always. You hear somebody telling you your husband is moving out. Be the first one to deny it, even when you do not know the truth. And ask them who told them to be your spies. Protect your marriage. Details later. You have not assigned anyone to be your watchdog. And the word here is always, in bold. Let's read together. Always trust. Even when you don't feel like. Always trust. Together. Always hopes. Always. Together. Always perseveres. Finally, Love never fails. By the way, this is not my discovery. This is not my definition. Who can tell where I got it from? 1 Corinthians 13. Now, what is love then? If love does not fail, if it always protects, what is love? I read a scripture that confused me. Hosea 3:1. I've never understood why God would advise anyone such a thing. Bring her back even though she's adulterous. How can you love such a person? That's the question I ask. How can one love like this? Is it possible? What does it really mean? Love never fails. Now, I found the answer. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. Now, how can I say love never fails? Who can answer me? Because God never fails. That's the answer. God never fails and God is love. So love never fails. It's impossible to love when you're not in God. We are given many attributes of God, but one is unique. It says who He is. He is love. Outside God, there is no love. As we all know and rely on the love of God for us, God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God, and God in him. This is again a direct citation from scriptures. The truth sets free. Thank you.